Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all the praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, much love and respect to you, Akim, out there, pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. It's your brother High in the Posh coming at you with another lesson. And this lesson is going to be entitled, we have to uplift each other as brothers. We have to uplift each other as brothers, okay? And the scriptures say that. It says to, comfort ye one another, all right? Because dealing with stress in particular situations and bottling it up constantly is not healthy, and we're accustomed to do that. We're accustomed to bottle up our feelings, our stress, and it leads to cortisol buildup. It leads to different health issues. That's why the scripture says sorrow hath killed many, and the way to release that is through also expressing it and speaking about it with a brother that will uplift you. It's important, all right? That's something that's glossed over amongst Jake. That's looked at as weak. But the scriptures don't say it's weak. The scriptures say that, it's needful. It's important. Even Yahweh Shai told Peter, I will increase your faith. And when you are strengthened, strengthen your brothers. Roughly paraphrasing. Okay? Or I have prayed for you. Okay? That your faith failed not. I've prayed for you. And when you are strengthened, strengthen your brothers. Right? Because brothers go through certain situations to be made stronger so that they can help uplift other brothers that are weaker. So we have to practice that. We have to practice uplifting our brothers. We have to practice, talking about certain things, expressing certain things. Okay, being a bit vulnerable, being vulnerable at times, man, is needful. If for nothing else, to help to manage stress. With stress, we need to constantly manage that. All right, you'll destroy yourself if you don't manage that stress. You think that this is just about, you're in that 2007 Israelite spirit. You think it's just about, nah, man, I'm just a hard Israelite that don't, I don't do nothing. I don't do nothing except prophesy, preach, and read the scriptures, and keep the commandments. That's all I do. No, what you got to do, you got to be able to understand yourself and understand your body, understand how it works, understand what you need, because the scriptures also say that all things are not good for all men, and be able to manage your stress. It's very important, okay? Because if you don't manage your stress, you're liable to be to have a lot of health issues. Okay, so it's very important to manage your stress. Okay, whether you have to get a massage, you have to take a walk in the forest or whatever. Okay, certain these different things, these things work. These things do work. Okay, eating right, that helps with your stress. Eating the correct foods. All right. Eating junk all day is not good. It helps to raise cortisol. Okay. And to show you how important it is to release tension, when you do certain health cleanses and you release when you do certain health cleanses, you actually start to cry. Your tears start to come out of your eyes, and that's because you're actually releasing some emotional tension, okay, that's been pent up when you do certain health changes. Okay, that's a real thing. Okay, that's a real thing. You know, you're in a society where you're even us as Israelites. You know, you know, really any tribe, but especially the kingdom of Judah, but every tribe. You know, your you don't your woman ain't really with you, especially the kingdom of Judah. Your woman is not with you. Okay, you don't even got a woman to go back to be comforted. The scriptures speak about the woman as being a pillar of rest. You're supposed to go to your woman, and she's supposed to be able to relieve stress in different ways. Okay, but really all they do in this society is add on to the stress. And that's why we tell you don't deal with certain women, man. We tell you don't deal with that end up. We told you that already. Many times the apostle Ben said it, man. Okay? Don't deal with her. She is not fit to be a wife. Okay? Do what's best for you. And in most cases, if you're gonna get a woman, you want to get them other nations outside of the end up. There's the Latin tribes. The Moabite blows them all out of the water when it comes to being a wife, in my opinion. Okay, because they're not interested in even looking at other men. I noticed that about Moabite women. They don't even bother. They don't even want to look at other men. They're not interested. They're focused on their man. That's one thing I notice about them, the Moabite women. That's why I always say Moab women make the best wives. That Moab type culture. You know, they're very timid, very feminine. You know, doing a lot of giggling, shy. Well, the scriptures tell you to be, man. You got to imagine all kind of things Satan is throwing at you to break you. Okay, to break you. You know, you got to counteract that with with reading, with we fall short of that sometimes. Of prayer, you got to keep your prayer up. If nothing else, you got to do the prayers. Prayer is easy. You know, prayer is the easiest thing to do because you don't require much. It just requires a conversation between you and Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. See, reading that takes mental effort and so on and so forth. Doing lessons takes mental effort, but prayer doesn't take no effort. Okay, the prayer is important. You know, uh, exercise. Exercise is extremely important. You're being active. A lot of these people are dying because they're not active enough, man. You know, I've been getting into playing a lot of basketball lately, and trying to drag the brothers along to play basketball with me, man. That's what I've been on lately. And you know what? It keeps the blood flowing, man. It keeps the heart pumping. You know. Hey, Howard Shai was so stressed out that he started to sweat blood. That's how stressed out Yahweh Shai was. Yahweh Shai was so stressed out, he started to sweat blood. Okay? And we're not on Yahweh Shai's level. Okay? And when Yahweh Shai was King Solomon, he said that to enjoy the pleasure of his hands. The things that he worked for, the money he worked for, he could spend it as he pleased, to enjoy himself. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Yeah, we're in the house of mourning. That's not going to change. That's a mentality more than anything. That doesn't mean you go walk into a morgue and start crying. That's not what it means. It's a mentality, a mindset of seriousness, of being in a sorrowful and understanding, what's going on. It gets us angry, gets us vexed. Scriptures say that when you increase in wisdom, you increase in sorrow. That's a mind, right? Even if we go and we do these different things to manage stress, that mind state is not just going to change. You're not just going to switch. Happy-go-lucky dude in the world, what's good for them, they don't really know. They don't see the bigger picture how we see the bigger picture, But in that, understanding that we're increasing in wisdom, we got to find ways to mitigate the stress, mitigate the cortisol that's within us, man. That's real talk, man. That's real talk. Okay? So, uplift one another, man. To say kind words to one another, man. Real talk, man. Instead of always cursing brothers out, how about You know, honestly, don't just make up some shit. What you honestly see. You know, that's one thing about them dudes in the world, man. Them dudes, so-called friends in the world, they ain't trying to really uplift you like that. They trying to crack jokes. They try to do this and that and snap on you, but they don't have no time to really truly uplift you in the spirit. You know, which that takes energy too. You know, I should know. I've, you know, I've put out that energy, man.